one thing to pay attention for when we're looking at these hands, if you look down here in the bottom right-hand corner, I tried to take advantage of this feature on the replayer to include some notes on each hand. So this should give you an idea of what's sort of the takeaway lesson from this hand that we're looking at. So hopefully you'll find these a little bit helpful. Unfortunately, they don't jump out at you a whole lot. So remember to glance down here and just to get a sense of why we're looking at this hand. So the first one that I want to show you, probably a pretty common situation where, we'll speed this up a little bit, where you flop top pair, top kicker, you bet the flop, you get called. Even just stopping here to think about where your opponent's range is, it's obviously very wide and is almost certainly, almost everything in that range is well behind your hand. You're losing to ace-7, ace-8, pocket sevens, pocket eights, pocket aces. And really, against better players, only like sevens and eights are going to be in their range most of the time. It's not impossible you got called by like ace-7 suited, ace-8 suited, or your opponent chose not to 3-bet you, but you're pretty sure you have the best hand right now. But it's not a board where, right, there's a lot of stuff you're concerned about. So your opponent could have some sort of straight draw, he could have a flush draw, and even if he makes, there's a lot of ways he could make like 2-pair or something, and you're not going to know it. So there are some dangers out there, but clearly you're in pretty good shape right now, and that deuce of hearts is not a card that concerns you. Only if your opponent is in there with ace-2 suited and called the flop, drilled his 2-pair, is that really a concern for you? So there's a question of, what are you going to do now? And against a lot of people, you're just going to want to bet again. One of the reasons I'm showing you this hand, though, is to illustrate that principle of be afraid on the river. Because when you're thinking about your bet sizing on the turn, you might think, well, I want to bet enough that my opponent makes a mistake, because that's the goal of poker, right, is to get your opponent to make a mistake. So one option might just be to shove all in here for $170, and that is a pretty sure way of getting your opponent off a draw. And really unsophisticated poker players, that's what they do. They have the best hand, but they're concerned about a draw, and so they go all in. Their opponent folds, and they figure, okay, I played well, I protected my hand. Hopefully most people watching this video know better than that, and if you don't, well, you learned something valuable from this video already. But a lot of people, you might end up betting too little in this situation because you're underestimating your opponent's you're underestimating the danger that's inherent here. So let's say that your opponent has a hand like 9-10. How many outs does he have?